The countdown to Christmas has officially begun. We're just 10 days away from singing jingle bells, jingle all the way. Wait, it should actually be Kerismasi Day, Kerismasi Day.
Kerismasi Day, Kerismasi Day. Sorry, I thought that's what
I was going to sing Kerismasi, oh, Kerismasi Mama. But while Christmas is still loading, Detty December is already in full swing, and Lagos is not resting at all. And neither are some people on this table, and I know someone who has not had proper sleep in the past week because of Italawa. You know her. No pity for you, Tolu. No pity. In fact, I saw you on Saturday. Was it yesterday? You still went out. Tolu.
I had 2 events on Saturday.
Tolu.
Yes,
all right. Okay. I've called you twice now.
I mentioned you.
Yeah, well, good morning and welcome to Jasiri, now the show where we break down the stories shaping our lives, our culture, and hold real and honest conversations. The show where news meets perspective and real-life experiences take center stage. This is Jasiri, and we're welcoming back our South African baddie in a massive. We have definitely missed you on the table.
I missed y'all. I was
this side of her when she comes to
Is that good or bad, Tolu?
What?
Is that good or bad?
It's a good side.
It's a good
no,
thing.
I like it.
I miss you guys so much. I'm
How
like Tolu when? Tolu when?
Have you been to Talawai?
Kind of. I'm still learning the dance moves. Right now I've got this one. Once I get the others.
Hang us like that. Let's go for a quick time out. We'll be right back after this. I'm home. All right, so we're good to go. So thank you. I'm not the only one who's doing it. Hawaii. You know, so we went out on Thursday with my sister-in-law. We were out to about 2 a.m. And I pitied myself, but I had been doing it from my radio days. I remember being on radio 3, 4 a.m. I wouldn't even bother to go home. I'd just tell my husband, drop me at the station and you go home. I'd go station, sit on the chair, sleep maybe 30 minutes before my show started. Then once I was done, hit the road. I would now sleep from like 12 to 4 and then we do it again.
Oh, wow.
So I was on air on Friday when my husband sent me a message. He said, how do you do it? That he was waking up around 12.
Honestly.
And he's like, Babe, are you okay? Are you fine? You know, how do you do it? That body, he's not as young as he used to be.
Tolu, it's actually a lot easier when you're on radio because nobody sees you.
Yeah.
Because I used to do it as well, but now I really do not have the strength. You are a strong woman, I have to say.
No, because if you don't enjoy when you can enjoy. These are the kind of memories I'm going to be looking back on, you know? When the Balogun siblings were busy doing, what's Rema's song? That the very popular one where he sings really fast. I caught my husband and his sister.
Oh, you know, I haven't actually done this in a while, but I just remember that on Friday I was actually out till 2 a.m. as well. I just remembered. How did I miss that? How did I forget?
See the smile on her face now. There's some
It was enjoyment. It was enjoyment.
What is the Talawai that you have been doing?
Me? See, Tolu, I'll show you after here. Right now, I'm still working on my dance moves. I'm one of those, anytime I'm in a place with people, they're like, are you sure you are from South Africa? You're the only South African.
I was about to ask you, what do you want to tell me? You're working on the dance
like, you are the only South African that we have seen that does not know how to dance. Your DNA. The other day, I posted something on Instagram. Someone responded and said, see, stick to your daytime job.
Wow! Well, I'm the Nigerian that doesn't know how to dance. I feel the music in my spirit, but my legs and my brain do not coordinate.
They don't communicate it. I have the same problem. In my mind, it sounds right, but when I try and express it,
when I see other people doing it, I think I'm doing the same thing.
I don't think it's you guys. I really don't think it's you guys. I think the dance steps or the moves these days is more like exercise.
More complicated.
Even my little side step and wiggle.
Back then it was easy, but now never.
There's that one.
You're South African.
I cannot do it to save my life.
Serious?
But the song and the beat in my head plays correctly.
And in your head, when you imagine yourself doing it, you imagine you're doing it right.
Exactly. So, she's South African. Can you leg walk? You're Nigerian.
You said what?
Yeah. Can you leg? I have long legs. You have the legs.
My daughter can do. Once she hears it and sees it, I'm like, where did you learn it? It's my friends. I'm like, oh wow. All right, so I have a quick rant, guys. I'm so happy we're able to, bring some joy to the morning on a Monday morning as we start the show, but I need to rant. So on Friday, I stopped at one major supermarket to buy something. And so in the line behind me, I saw a young boy with 2 bottles of beer. And a bottle of a mineral, of a soft drink. And I kept eyeing this boy, you know, and I'm like trying to judge his age. He looked like an apprentice, most likely. And I know that boy cannot be more than 15. If he was even 15, I don't even think he's up to 15. So I paid for my stuff and I stood to the side a little bit because I wanted to see what was going to happen. And that's how the cashier rang him up. She rang the beer. And I'm standing there looking incredulous. And then she looks at me like, oh, why are you still here? You've paid now. And I said, are you really going to sell the alcohol to him? Please ask me what this girl said.
What did she say?
He's not the one that's going to drink it.
Oh, how does she know?
He was with somebody's ATM card.
So he said they sent me.
They sent
Did she actually even ask?
She didn't even ask. So it also made me feel like he's a regular.
Yeah,
because nobody did anything. So the guy, you know how they have these people who tear your receipts, and I still to this day do not understand the purpose of tearing the receipt. But the guy there, I saw him at my corner of my eye. He was chuckling, and I'm thinking to myself, what is funny here? So then I raised my voice because the manager is not too far, like almost where you are, and I said, she's selling alcohol to a minor. What does the manager tell me? He's not the one that's going to drink it. And I'm thinking to myself, I said the law in Nigeria does not talk about who's going to drink it. It says that you do not sell
to underage
children alcohol. And I was just, in my head I was just thinking to myself, so these are the same people who will criticize government. These are the same people who say that something's wrong with our society. They do not see their own part, the little things that they do that chip away at the kind of society we want. Because I don't care. Even the person who sent him is very wrong. How do you send a minor to buy alcohol for you and then we'll complain about the kind of society we have?
Well, we actually live in a world where the younger ones are in competition with the older ones.
But the older ones should not be seen to be helping them or to be
enabling them. I really don't think, anyone sent him. He's a regular, and
he had somebody's ATM card.
It wasn't his name.
It wasn't his name. How do you know it wasn't his name?
Well, they could have.
Because I've been to
judge on what he looked. Alone, Jimmy and God.
Yeah.
Because of the questions he asked. If I'm to judge on the way he looked and socioeconomic circumstances, it couldn't be his.
Do you know why I ask? Because I've been to one of these supermarkets, and then I've seen young children, not teenagers, holding ATM cards, their ATM cards, and buying items and all that.
But
so most of them have bank accounts.
Look at in terms of socioeconomic circumstances.
Well, I really cannot say, but then I feel it was him, because you have children these days who, go ahead to book hotel rooms, male and female, and they stay the night. The parents don't ask questions. Even the
hotel does not ask questions.
They do not ask questions.
Every time I have to go to a hotel, I'm showing ID.
Exactly. You have people who really care about moving their businesses rather than, protecting the innocence of these children. So,
I mean, it's nothing new.
But even if it's nothing new, it just should not be. Because I was shocked. This is one of, if I mention the name of the supermarket, everyone in Lagos knows it. So it's not an anyhow supermarket.
Yeah.
This is a supermarket that is well known, has a good reputation for what they sell, for being a trusted supermarket. And I tweeted at them. I tweeted the whole experience. I couldn't find them on social media. I'm still looking for them on X. But I'm like, is this what you represent? You are okay with your cashier and a manager selling alcohol to a minor and saying he's not the one that's the one that even my head wanted to spark. He's not the one that's going to drink. He's not the one that's going to drink it today. But next time it's easier for him to come and buy it. Next time it's easier for him to take the ATM card and buy the one that he himself will drink.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. So what if you collected the ATM from a friend, an older friend?
No, but I mean, I agree with Tolu in saying that it doesn't matter whose ATM it is. Once you get to the pay station, there has to be that accountability from them,
Exactly.
And I think something that needs to be done in the future, which is something that we do, is that I think for me, I was quite shocked to find out that you guys sell alcohol in supermarkets, actually.
Yeah, you have specific places.
Yes.
What do they call them?
Bottle stores or a liquor store.
Where alcohol is limited to just specific places.
So even if you have, because we don't want to promote any supermarket here, if you've got like a Darshan supermarket, next door is Darshan liquor. And already when you want to get in there, there are guys at the door that gauge you. If you look a little bit underage, they'll ask you, can you have some ID? I remember, let me give you some more gist. When we were younger, there's September 1st is like summertime. And it's a public holiday, and everybody just goes somewhere. You either go to the beach or you go to, and we were young, we were underage, was probably in high school. And we got to the liquor store and we were so loud. There was just that excitement of,
our turn.
Yeah. And one of my friends was like, turn down they're not going to think we're adults. Turn off the music, turn down everything because they're not going to let us in. And Darshan, for sure, the minute we got to the door, the man said, you must be playing. You must be joking.
You must be joking.
So you know what we did? The driver, because we had hired like a bus, we had to now ask the driver.
People do that. So go inside
for us. But you see, it's that accountability thing that I feel like now, because we're used to the etiquette of these younger kids that want to behave like Tolu said, mature. And of course, let's be honest too. I think another thing that we need to talk about is that many of these young kids look old.
Yes.
So that's why you card everyone. Everywhere. So when we travel this summer, everywhere you go, even in my sister's state, so they are a state that allows the sale of cannabis, but it is in regulated places.
Yeah.
It's not mixed. You have to go to this place. That place is heavily regulated, and I think that's what it is, because they themselves are afraid of consequences. If they get caught selling to minors, they're shut down.
Yeah.
They're fine. So because there's no consequences in Nigeria, you can do anyhow and do anyway. Somebody will be watching now and say, why am I particular about a supermarket when they around the corner they're buying sachets of alcohol? But everywhere, one step, everyone is a gatekeeper, and I think we've stopped gatekeeping the right things in Nigeria. Everywhere you are, you're a gatekeeper. Everywhere you are, when you see something wrong, you should speak up. If I was at a Mama Put or at a Malam and I was buying something and he came, I'll say the same thing. And I told them, I know that when I leave, you're going to sell it to him anyway, but I'm just telling you that I know what you did, and it was wrong. You're selling alcohol to a minor. I don't care if you say it's not him drinking it. You are actually handing it over to a minor.
Them. Tolu, gone are the days, when they say the community is responsible for.
It takes the community to raise a village.
To train a child. Nowadays, nobody really cares. As long as you're not my child, as long as you're not related to me, then you can do whatever you want. In fact, you have kids. There's this corner close to my house. You have them, if not for the fact that we actually usually call police for them and all that. Hey, they smoke weed there around that corner. It's really bad, and you find them very young children that should be. In fact, most of them don't even go to school. They wear their uniforms and they go to the corner and they do whatever they want to do.
Firsthand, I've seen that experience. Firsthand, it's school time. The bell has rung, and I'm going out of my house. I'm going to buy bread. The bell has rung, Tolu, and you see kids there seriously smoking weed. So I remember this one day I passed. And when I passed, they were absent-minded because I didn't say anything. Yeah. So as I'm going back up, and it's two girls, not in 12th grade, two girls. I'm like, it's gotten to that point where you guys even roll your own blunts now. So she puts it under. I'm like, I saw what you threw away. Should I call the police on you?
If they don't smoke, they end up fighting on the streets, constituting a nuisance.
And the thing is, if you call the police and the parents come, they'll tell you what's your business.
Yes.
So exactly. I told you guys about the day I was dropping Corey Day off, and about the young boy. He too, I don't think was 15, that was wasted on whatever it was. He was in the middle of the road like this.
Can you imagine?
And I had to have a conversation with my daughter about drug abuse and how you will change the trajectory of your life and you won't be able to achieve the things. We are playing with so many things for the future of this country. Even the present is already being played with. Let's take a break. It's true now.
All right. We're actually just getting warmed up, this Monday. But stay with us because there is more coming up.
Now, welcome back to Jasiri, and our first story is taking us nowhere because we start right here in Lagos, where tenants are tentatively jubilating with the news that in Lagos State, they can now only be evicted, or soon, because it's still a bill, be evicted with a legal court process. Now, this major reform that could change the daily lives of millions of renters and landlords in Lagos is centered around housing and tenancy disputes, which of course have long plagued the state, from landlords changing locks without warning to tenants being forced out without due process. The Lagos State government has now put forth a new Tenancy and Recovery of Premises Bill 2025, which seeks to overhaul how rents, evictions, and landlord-tenant relationships are regulated. At the heart of this bill is a simple but powerful idea. No tenant in Lagos should be evicted without a court order. 1. eviction only with the court orders. And here are some of the key details of the bill. Now, one of the biggest reforms in the bill is that it makes it illegal for landlords to evict tenants without a valid court order. Landlords are also prohibited from using self-help tactics like cutting off water or electricity, changing locks, or removing a roof, yes, it has happened, to force tenants out. Violations can lead to fines of at least 1 million naira or up to 6 months in prison.
Now, the bill explicitly forbids landlords from taking action that interfere with the tenants' rights to quiet and peaceable enjoyment. I don't know what that is like in Lagos, of their homes. Now, this, like Tolu said, includes removing utilities or parts of a building or threatening the tenants. These acts are now criminal offenses. While the bill doesn't cap rent, it empowers tenants to challenge unreasonable rent hikes in court. Judges can compare rent levels in similar areas and hear evidence from both sides before ruling. Crucially, landlords cannot evict tenants while such disputes are ongoing. Judiciary system. The draft law seeks to speed up tenancy disputes by forcing courts to schedule hearings within 14 days and allowing hearings on weekends or virtually. Mediation has a 30-day cap, and additionally, the bill also includes reforms on clear accounting of service charges and security deposits every 6 months, refunds of deposit except for documented damages, recognized tenants' rights to privacy, peace, use of common areas, and compensation for approved improvements.
Oh,
Interesting.
Well, the bill further addresses advance rent payments. Now, for new tenancies, landlords are limited to collecting a maximum of 1 year's rent in advance, while existing monthly tenants must not be asked to pay more than 3 months' rent upfront. Now, estate agents are also brought under regulation. So the bill requires all agents to be registered with the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority and caps agency fees at 5% of annual rent. Agents who collect above this limit may face fines or even imprisonment. So agents are also required to remit rent payments to landlords within 7 working days and issue proper receipts. So in terms of transparency, the bill further requires landlords to provide tenants with accounts of service charges and security deposits every 6 months, while affirming tenants' rights to privacy, access to common areas, peaceful enjoyment, and compensation for approved improvements. So the Lagos State government says that the proposed law is to reinforce Lagos State's commitment to protecting tenants' rights, and as a response to frequent reports of forceful evictions, rent hikes, unlawful lockouts, property damage, and harassment of tenants across the state, including breaking into apartments or even using third parties to enforce evictions. So it has passed its second reading at the Lagos State House of Assembly and is currently before the House Committee on Housing for further legislative review. I know so many people will be happy about this.
But the thing is, this sounds awfully familiar because Lagos already has a tenancy law, and I think a large part of many of this is inside that tenancy law. But I think the biggest thing is, for this to work, it's going to require the cooperation of Lagosians, and I'll tell you why. Because we have a huge swing on the supply-demand side, the supply is limited, the demand is massive. Oftentimes, landlords or agents can tell you, walk away. Because as you're walking out, 3 other people are coming in to take that place, and they will deal and accept whatever terms the landlords or the agents put on the table. But when the first person comes and says no, the law says this. The second person comes and says no, the law says this. The third, the fourth, the fifth person comes and says the law says this. Then you'll see a change with the landlords and agents. But as long as Nigerians are willing to cut corners, one person didn't take it because they want to do the right thing, but you can bend your way to do it, this might fail. So this is really going to require the cooperation of Lagosians who insist on the law to make it work.
Do you think they're going to cooperate?
That's the problem, because the demand is so high, the supply is limited, and people are even entering, oh God.
They're entering
into agreements for horrible accommodation just because they want a roof over their head in Lagos.
No, if you look at the way the landlords and the agents actually treat tenants. It's horrible. It's really horrible, and that's the reason why is because they feel they have an edge over these tenants. But just as Tolu has said, some of these the things in this bill, have already been there. But these landlords and the tenants don't even bother about, they do whatever they want, right? I've spoken to agents, and when I told them, the tenancy bill is coming up, and then, it says this, they said it will not work. That's the first thing they tell you. They say, forget that thing, it will not work. And this one actually requires these agents, because there's so many agents. You have an agent who has an agent who has an agent who has another agent. And if you're looking for a house, they have to wait for each other. And then you take all of them, even if it's in a bus, to go and look for that house or to go and check the house. They're required now to actually, register with the regulatory to be regulated. So they're required now to register. But will it work? How many of them would actually go through the process of registering? That's another question that needs to be answered.
Aside from that registering, we need to make the website or the registered agents available to Nigerians, to Lagosians. So if you're saying that they must register with the agency has to have a website. It needs to be able to keep up to date with who they've registered. So if I say I want to pick up a new agent, I need to be able to go to that website and see a profile, a picture, name, official email of an agent, and be able to say, okay, yes, this agent is registered.
That will not work. Have you been to, federal government websites? Have you seen their gazettes?
This is Lagos State. No, Lagos State is a bit better. This is not federal. So let's give Lagos some benefits on that. Okay. So I was asking Inam before the show her experience with trying to rent in Lagos or in Nigeria.
So the first thing I'm going to say is thank God for Victoria and James Jock, because those are my Nigerian parents. If not for them, looking for a house in Nigeria, I have never experienced it in my life. I think there was a time where I started in Abuja, and I think the first thing I told Tolu was, my surprise was, if you want to see this house, there's a fee that you have to pay the agent to see this house. Then you tell him, well, I'm not happy with this, then you have to go to the other house.
And then pay a fee to see that house.
At the same time, you have to pay the fee to see that one. I'm like, but that's
if it's from a different agent.
No, it's still the same agent.
But we don't know that. It's the agents that know that they're collecting it from a different
So it goes back to what Tolu said, my agent's agent. So if I'm going on behalf of this one and I'm the one that's taking you, he still needs to get his fee as well. So by the time you even calculate service charge and all of those things, you've started paying rent as you are going to view all of these different entities. Oh my God, I remember at one point I found a place and it wasn't painted.
And you were responsible for painting and finishing?
Yes. I was like, with this amount of rent? You get there, you get into a place for a while. A friend of mine got into a place where it just starts raining and it is dripping. And you call the landlord. Tolu, you've paid like 5 million. That's how much they're saying the rent is. You get in there, the house is...
It's raining, you too. You're being rained on.
It's your first month and you are collecting buckets, and you will call them. And they will act like at that time, this house is not our business. It's your property.
Yeah.
Up until your lease ends, it's your property. So, I mean, for me, there have been so many different culture shocks, because the other thing we don't do in SA is we don't do paying rent for the whole year.
It's monthly.
It's monthly. So the day they gave me the price for rent, I said, excuse me, is that per month? They're like, it's for the whole year. I was like, ha. I mean, I get it. It makes sense to be clear for the rent for the whole year. But there was a bit of a mind block in my head, because I'm like, why am I going to raise all of that money instantly before I get in? It's got its pros and cons. But I think it's intense. And like you said, you're going to pay this amount of money for an apartment that... I've not even begun to talk.
It talks about how some landlords, end up removing the roofs and all that. Well, I had a landlord, my former landlord had keys to all the houses.
Why?
Not mine, though, because I changed the lock. I don't know, he just felt like he's the landlord and he needed to have control of the whole house. So there's this particular lady, I think she was a student, right, in the compound. And she had a house, it was a mini flat. It was self-contained, I'm not sure. And apparently this man would go in whenever she's not around, do whatever he wanted to do. In fact, there were times when I would actually go into my house and feel like someone had presence.
Been there. The air had been disturbed.
Exactly, do you get? So after I felt that once, twice, I started to change my lock. And he was like, he was telling me, he was like, there's a place you can actually keep your key in case you misplace the ones you have.
Normally
what he will do is to keep it by the window. I was like, no, don't worry about it. Thank you very much, sir. That was what I told him. But this lady, it was a big deal. She had a problem. She brought her mom. She brought journalists. Like, they had a real fight saying that the guy was onto her. Honestly, that he was onto her because the lady came with a friend. And he was like, you have no right to bring your friend to visit you. Not even to stay with you. To stay with you. So it was a huge problem. And then she said, I know you always enter my house. I know you have a key. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have a key to the rest of the house and everything. So it was a whole deal. So there are landlords who feel they need to control every single aspect of the house.
The ones that tell you that you have to be back inside by 10 p.m. or they lock the gates and then you go and sleep wherever you're coming from.
So I think to add on what you just said, where some of these things cannot be curbed, I also came to find that when people, like Tolu had said, when you get into an agreement with a landlord, it's always a spoken agreement. There are no written contracts in many of the estates and houses that we rent from, because if that was in the contract, then you would know that
you would not say yes.
You don't have a right to my key. If I lose the key, as I'm vacating the premises, I've got the right to change the locks and give you the new key.
Exactly.
It's not a hotel where somebody has a master key for everything. And I mean, there's a lot of violations. And honestly, like you said, Lagos and Lagosians need to be the ones that steer the wheel.
On this, we have to be involved. Let's go on a break. We're not done because a lot of landlords also can talk about what tenants have done. And it's interesting that this law is called the Tenancy and Recovery of Premises, which I think also will speak to the landlord's rights as well. We'll be back after this. So we want to give Lagos tenants as much information as we possibly can with what the Lagos state government is proposing. There's also talk of rent and fees cap. So don't forget that landlords cannot demand more than 1 year's rent in advance from new tenants or more than 3 months from existing tenants, and that you can challenge these increases in rent to a court. And I like the fact that they said that there has to be a time limit, because there have been situations before with the previous tenancy law where people were in court for years trying to evict a tenant. And then because you're going to court, the status quo remains, and so tenants don't have to pay until judgment is given. And so people were in court for years. Tenants are living rent-free in the houses. So aside from that, just now the legal process of eviction this is what it involves. So if it's a weekly tenant, you have to give them 1 week's notice. A monthly tenant requires 1 month's notice. A quarterly or half-yearly tenant requires 3 months' notice, and a tenant of yearly fees requires 6 months' notice. If a fixed-term tenancy has expired or the tenant is in arrears of rent, like 3 months for monthly tenants, a formal notice to quit can be dispensed with, moving you directly to the next step. So what is the next step? You serve a 7-day notice of owner's intent to recover possession. That is, of course, the apartments, the house, whatever it may be. After the notice to quit expires, immediately if rent is in arrears, tenancy is fixed, e.g., the 7-day notice must be served to inform the tenant of the landlord's intent to go to court. So landlords must tell you if they're going to take you to court to evict you. They file an action in court if the tenant still refuses to vacate after the notice expires, and then they can file a claim in the magistrate's court or high court to obtain a court order for possession. And only after a court issues a warrant of possession can court bailiffs legally oversee the eviction, and the landlord cannot use private individuals or thugs for harassments, which we know happens. We know.
Well, I love the fact that they said for yearly tenants, the landlord should give 6 months notice. But then, because you have so many landlords who will just sell their houses or even want to revamp, and then they just up and give you like a month's notice, or even tell you that, oh, you need to vacate this premises, I have something doing and all that. But all of these things that you have said, Tolu, how many Nigerians even understand it? Because there needs to be, serious enlightenment.
True.
There needs to be serious enlightenment. You also talked about, the 2 years rent and everything, but there are people who do not mind paying the 2 years rent. So in such cases, the landlords won't even bother. You still have landlords till these till this day saying that, oh, because I've seen it. I have like a lot of agents, a list of agents. So if you want when I tell you, oh yeah, take this number. So I saw one as of last week saying that, oh, this property is available, but then it's, in fact, 2.5 years rent that's required. Yes. But you have people that would actually go for that because, like you said, the demand is high, but the supply is limited.
And I think on the other side of that, as I was coming into the office today, I was finding out that we had, someone had paid rent and she had moved in. A few months later, they're giving her quit notice. Why? Because they sold the house. And they knew the house, they knew they were selling the house when they collected her money.
Yeah.
So now she's looking for a new place and looking for rent for a new place.
So how long did she stay in there before they gave her?
A few months.
Did they refund her?
Sometime this year, no. They disappeared on her. They're not answering. So there's a lot. And again, that's why I also said that tenants, landlords also have some protection under the law. Lagos State is going to have to do massive awareness before you start enforcement. Go to the markets. Use the market men and market women, the yalojas of whatever markets, to spread the information. Spread it in schools. Do posters for it. Do you know your rights?
That can be understood.
Whatever you can do. Do radio. Do whatever you can do. This is not a point for government to keep quiet. Once the bill passes, you need massive media blitz on this if you're going to start shifting the needle in the right way. Because landlords too need protection. Some tenants are horrible.
Oh no, some tenants are horrible.
How are you cooking inside somebody's house with firewood?
I don't understand.
Happened to my friends.
I've seen it too.
Their tenants cook inside the house
I've seen
with firewood because firewood is what makes food taste good. If you see how their kitchen looked afterwards.
No.
Tenants.
No, I've seen it.
So if tenants are bad, let's say it's landlords are bad.
Yes,
everybody's bad together.
You're talking about tenants. I know of a landlord that was complaining about a tenant that would take drugs and actually smoke in the
compound.
In the compound as well. Meanwhile, they're busy sending other people outside away, and you in your compound, where you're the champion, but in your compound it's happening. So it's crazy. Some of these tenants do not care.
Horrible.
And that's why most of these landlords are horrible to other tenants, good or bad. Tolu talked about how, I just wanted to give an example of, what about the fact that sometimes the tenants will come in and decide, oh, they want to, revamp the place. And as soon as the landlord knows that you're doing work in that house, he says
it's a quick notice, and then they want to increase the fee.
What?
So the law talks about that, but the law...
I've had people, when they did that, they said no problem, and they pulled down everything that they did. Yes.
So that's a big issue too, because I remember the videos that were trending sometime this year, a young lady and I think a guy or so, different videos, they had made massive improvements to the house. All of a sudden the landlords came, gave them quick notice, they want to increase the fees. One girl pulled everything.
Yes. The other guy painted everywhere black.
He painted everywhere black. Yeah, so the law says, this proposed bill says, you are protected for agreed improvements. This is why it's important for these conversations not to be oral. Even WhatsApp, I want to change bathtub. This is how much it costs. This is the receipt. And okay, even that can be considered evidence. You need to agree on the improvements that you're going to make to the house and how those improvements will either come back to you. Are you going to reduce my rent by 500,000 next year? Are you going something like that? But tenants are meant to be protected when it comes to agreed improvements. There we go.
And even talking about the landlords, they're good landlords and they're bad landlords.
Yeah.
They're landlords that would want to increase your house rent every 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And they're landlords that, they would leave it as it is, even if you're there for 10 years. But as soon as you leave, the new person comes, they'll
do market price, because agents will be in their ear most times.
So, let's give it up to the good landlords as well, honestly. They make living in the house very easy.
They are very scarce.
And so one final thing I'll say again, I think the biggest thing to this is, one, negotiants have to be involved. They need to be aware of what their rights are, what the law does to protect them, and what they cannot do. But again, that change to the court structure, because nobody should be in court for years trying to recover their property. Nobody should be in court for years trying to hold their rent. And so again, just remember that you cannot dispute you cannot evict tenants. Landlords cannot evict tenants while a dispute is ongoing. The draft law seeks to speed up tenancy disputes by forcing courts to schedule hearings within 14 days and allowing hearings on weekends or virtually, which is, we can't be doing it only Monday through Friday with everything that happens in Lagos. And mediation has a 30-day cap. So now we also need the court system to catch up to what this bill is also proposing.
So because I love that this actually came up now, because by next year I intend on getting another space, right? So let's hope that it works out well. And
so that you can benefit.
My sister, that 5% that you talked about, because these agents charge 20 to 30%. They do not care.
They don't.
They're in it
the
for
government
themselves.
is capping it at 10.
Because imagine how you're paying like 2 million naira for a house annually, and then they're charging you 1.7 million naira for
agency,
service payments, all of that.
Oh my God.
It doesn't make sense at all.
Trust me.
I think we've exhausted. We've done a good job with this. We're keeping an eye on it. Let's see how it goes. Let's move on.
Now, in an interesting story, because for a while now, I know we've been talking about gender-based violence, but it becomes a bit interesting when the gender that is being violated is not a female.
Yeah.
Now, to an update on Maryam Sanda's presidential pardon. The Supreme Court on Friday overturned the presidential pardon that was granted to her and reinstated her death sentence. The court ruled that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu acted inappropriately by granting her clemency while her appeal was still pending before the court. Justice Moore Adumain, who read the lead judgment, stated that the evidence firmly established her guilty and left no room for doubt. He further held that the executives cannot interfere in a homicide case still undergoing judicial review. The clemency was granted following recommendations by the Presidential Advisory Committee on the prerogative of mercy, chaired by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Latif. Darshan, you'll help me pronounce that name.
Olasukomi
Fagbemi. Yes. Sanda, Sanda was among 175 convicts and ex-convicts approved for pardoning.
Now, Sanda, who was convicted by an FCT High Court in 2020 for the 2017 killing of her husband, Bilyamin Bello, at their home in Abuja, had her sentence reduced to 12 years imprisonment by the president on compassionate grounds. However, in a split 4-1 decision, the Apex Court dismissed her appeals in its entirety, holding that the prosecution proved its case beyond reasonable doubt and that executive pardons should not interfere with ongoing judicial proceedings. I believe we have some reactions to the news that the Supreme Court has upheld her death sentence. Let's see what people are saying. What of if it was the
English?
What if it was the husband that committed this crime? Will the husband be given this kind of pardon? Also, why? Let's move on. This shows that no one is above the law. A presidential pardon cannot erase the consequences of a serious crime. Justice is meant to be consistent, and the courts are sending a message that accountability matters, no matter the person involved. For once, let's appreciate the Supreme Court. If it had extended same on other convicts, our society will be more safe than it is. Let's not stop at, they made the mistake Ina made.
Yes.
Sandra's pardon, let it extend to others. This judgment will definitely spark national debate, but one thing is clear. Justice must always be consistent, transparent, and free from political influence. When the Supreme Court speaks, it reminds us that no office, pardon, or privilege should override the rule of law. May this strengthen our justice system and reinforce the need for fairness, due process, and true accountability in Nigeria. Presidential pardon is an executive discretion. However, it cannot be exercised in a manner that undermines the administration of justice or offends due process. Once a conviction has passed through the full appellate hierarchy, the Supreme Court retains the final word on its legal validity. The court has simply affirmed that mercy cannot override law, especially in a capital offense where the facts and findings have already been exhaustively tested. A valid presidential pardon is generally final and cannot be overturned by the Supreme Court. The only exception is where the pardon was issued illegally, unconstitutionally, or without following mandatory procedures. In such cases, the court can invalidate it. Under Section 175 of the 1999 Constitution, the president may grant pardons, reprieves, commutations, or remissions. This authority forms part of the executive prerogative of mercy and is ordinarily beyond judicial reversal. And it's interesting that some people have noticed, of course, presidential pardons can supersede in a way. But the situation around all of the pardons is what led to this. And the fact that, I think we heard from the Attorney General of the Federation at least twice. He said that, oh, they don't know how some names got on there, and oh, they're going to review them and revert, and then they did. At the long run, it just felt like this was a very avoidable situation if all the necessary work and all the necessary background and review had been done. But it also just shows us that There are a lot of back doors, even into Astle Rock.
It also shows that, they're not in sync at all, because this went through a committee. So the Attorney General coming out to say that he didn't know how some names, it just speaks volumes, right? And let's also forget that the reason why some of these names were overturned was because of the backlash. If there were no backlashes,
if Nigerians
hadn't come out to speak out, right?
It would have stood.
She would have been pardoned. And so many people, because if you remember the list, it had drug dealers, it had fraudsters,
economic saboteurs, it had people who had stolen from Nigerians in Nigeria. It didn't make sense. Somebody who's doing economic sabotage and unlawful mining, hijacking,
imagine
human trafficking.
Former military officer who was found to have stolen so much money that they could not buy the necessary arms, or who was what's the word I'm trying to there's an English today is not my favorite language.
It's fine, it's okay. You know when you party too hard, during the weekend it happens, so I understand you.
1-0. I will pay back before Christmas, because I want Wale. But it's just a situation. Diverted. English. He had diverted funds. It was Dash's target that made my brain work. He had diverted funds and diverted arms, and there's just so much. And you think, when you look at that list, you're like, did they really think that these are the people most deserving of clemency and presidential pardons, when we have so many hundreds of thousands of people awaiting trial? The people awaiting trial in Nigeria are more than the convicts in Nigerian prisons.
Oh, wow.
We should make that make sense.
Tolu?
Yes?
This particular story, because it makes me wonder why this Maryam Sanda story is in the spotlight all of a sudden. Why are they focusing on Maryam Sanda? What happens to the rest? Have they been secretly let go? Have they been pardoned?
They made adjustments to the list, but this story stuck out to a lot of people because of the heinous nature of the crime when it happened in 2017, when she killed her husband in their Abuja home. And then, of course, don't forget that her father came out.
Yeah, to say that, for the sake of the children.
There was a letter that the husband's family did not support. Then the father came out. Then there was a press conference with her father and the father-in-law. And so it pulls at people's emotional heartstrings. It pulls at a lot of, again, this gender-based violence situation, but this was a flipped situation. It just pulls at a lot. And so it's one of those stories in the list of people that is much more emotive than many of them. But I want to ask Inam, when was the last time you guys did any presidential pardon?
We could not even pardon our former president. Is it people will pardon? No, it's so seldom. Honestly, it's very, very seldom. It's
because it's weighty when it happens.
It's very seldom, because you also need to motivate why, like you said, why this person deserves a pardon. Let's look at all the other people that have been incarcerated for more than 10, 15 years, that have been given life in prison. And they've served their time and they are good Samaritans. Some of them are studying, they have graduated, they can give back to society. And then you decide, because we know this guy and this and that, this person is deserving of a pardon. So it's always a bit of a shady thing, and I think our presidents just always say
they just want to stay away from it.
I think there was a pardon last year. I think we actually took that in South Africa.
Who was pardoned?
Yes. I think there was a presidential pardon. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I'm not sure.
Under the Ramaphosa administration.
I remember.
Because even
I remember taking that story.
That the Jacob was not pardoned.
The Zuma.
Yes, he was not pardoned. What allowed him to get out was the fact that he was unwell. And then from there,
Mercy, what is it? Health grounds.
So from there, he didn't go back. So that was a lucky one. But I'm going to do my findings on that. I'm going to do my findings on that, because
I think we have a break coming up. We're going to take that break and then decide. We have two final stories that we could take, and I'll allow Inam to decide what story we take. So Inam, we have a feature on drug addiction. And then we also have something about vasectomies. We went to Jasiri on the streets, went to ask Nigerians how they feel about vasectomies. So choose.
Let's hear the
vasectomies. All right, so we come back.
They said we should go ahead.
We should go ahead.
Yes.
So I'm the one who has the intro for the vasectomies. All right, so we went to the streets to find out how Nigerians felt about vasectomies, because conversations around family planning often place the burden almost entirely on women, from contraception to pregnancy risk and even societal expectations. But one procedure challenges that imbalance, and that's a vasectomy. I know as I'm saying vasectomy, some men are just doing like this. In Nigeria, it remains one of the least understood and most stigmatized options for men, with myths, fears, and cultural beliefs shaping public perception far more than facts. Recently, there was a World Vasectomy Day. I think that was in early November, and we went out on the streets. It's a day, yes, dedicated to increasing awareness and knowledge about vasectomies. Now we hit the streets to hear what Nigerian men and women really think about this procedure, why the stigma persists, and whether Nigeria is ready for a shift in shared responsibility. Let's hear what people had to say.
Though I'm just learning it now that it's associated with men, but I was thinking that it's a reproductive precaution, associated with women.
This is the first time I will hear about it from you. If they have been doing it in another country, it can never be possible in this country now. For women, for we to be doing vasectomies.
Well, I'm not married, but I'm planning getting married very soon by next year. So I'm thinking maybe when I get married, maybe after 3 children, I would like to stop.
No, the answer is no. Capital no. I will not. If you check the population of man to woman, you see that we have so many women and we have less men. And so if you try this kind of family planning method, you'll be damaging so many men. I already have limited number in men. So this will cause so much problem for us.
Family planning, the whole bulk, lies with the women. Are you getting me? Because they are the people that know when their menstrual cycles, when they are, when they are in ovulation and things like that. So that starts from there. Any mistake, if you don't calculate well when they're in ovulation, and if you don't want a kid, you see that your wife, the menstruation ceases, that will be pregnancy.
There are so many factors that play for the woman. Let me say, maybe the egg, damage 2 or 3 eggs, it will not still cause problem. But the man's sperm is not healthy. There's so many problems for the society. So basically, I feel if it's for the woman, you damage 1, 2, 3, 4 eggs. She still have billions of eggs in her body, and so it's not much problem for her.
Woman menstruation will always make them to be young. We cannot use a man who did not have any opportunity except to release for him to go and do vasectomy. If you do it, if any issue happen, what's the relationship between that man and that vasectomy? Can still produce a child again.
If you had a family planning already, it should be permanent. That should be our decision. You shouldn't go ahead with what we didn't plan.
If the man has finished childbearing, it can be acceptable, But another thing again is, I don't know the religious implications for that. Whether it will go religiously for men to make themselves sterile.
Family plans for women, it's not for men. So that I can't pray for, I can't advise any man to go and get vasectomy.
The reason why you are called a man is because you can shoot your shot, you can shoot anywhere, and something will come out. The moment you are a man and you cannot shoot anything, you're not a man again now.
See, I'm more determined than ever to have a conversation about family planning and vasectomy on this table. So some of the things that the men are saying don't bear out. Now, data shows us there are actually slightly more men in Nigeria now to women. It's 102, 103 men to every 100 women. So there's not a shortage of men. So first of all, then second, I think the fact that it feels like they don't understand what women go through when they take birth control. And we're talking about almost every type of female birth control available has one negative or one consequence or other, depending on your body makeup and depending on your system, for every woman who takes it. Women gain pounds. They get hair sometimes. Some of them go through intense bleeding for months that doesn't stop.
It messes with
Acne,
their hormones.
It messes with your hormones. Some women have reported mental issues depending on the type of the contraception that they're taking. So there is a lot, and the studies have shown that male contraceptives actually have less side effects than female contraceptives. And then there are even vasectomies that are reversible.
They are. No, all of vasectomies are reversible. So it's easier for them, right?
Yes.
But you have most of the men saying, no, it is the woman, blaming it on the cycle, blaming it on, her not calculating well. Why?
And that man that said that he would not advise any man to do family planning or to take care. I love what Inam said. Inam said it is family planning.
Exactly.
It is not women planning. It is not men planning. It is you taking a look and saying, okay, at this point in time, it is the best option for our families, for me to get a vasectomy. Because, you guys, I wish women who actually go through issues with birth control would really speak out. We're just encouraging ourselves now to speak out about issues around pregnancy. But before the pregnancy comes in, people who take coil. People whose coil is a different type of birth control.
Like UTI.
Yes, but it's a coil, and so they insert it. I have friends who have coils. Coils can give you infection.
Yeah,
and it can shift. And it can be painful. You see that? No, look at me. Look at Dash's face. So there are options out there for different women and for your lifestyle and for whatever your intentions are, however long you want. There's the one you can do on your arm. There's the traditional daily birth control. There's a 3-month and all of that. But they all come with side effects. And it is unfair at the long run for only one party to bear the side effects when it's that same party that's also expected to bear the consequences of pregnancy and childbirth.
I actually have, a theory on this birth control and everything, but I'll tell you guys off camera. It has to be off camera.
Do men do vasectomies in South Africa?
No.
They're like our people.
No, but you know what? Let me not say no completely because there are some that do it. There are some that...
Are the conversations more open?
Yes, they are. They actually are way more open because the girls in SA are one of those where I know my rights. Me and you found me independent. There's nothing like you are the man. I'm also the woman. So let's have these conversations. And like you said, many women have gone through like the worst kind of things. You get on a contraceptive. I think there's the one that, like you said, that you inject here. Then all of a sudden, women are experiencing crazy blood clots and all of those things. So it's not necessarily a very nice experience. So I think for them, they understand the family planning. Like if I'm going to see my gynae, you are going with me. And we sit down and we have those conversations. So I think they're a bit more open-minded to it, but then there's still that factor of manhood that always then goes in question.
And the feel that a vasectomy involves cutting. Vasectomies these days no longer involve cutting.
So, but I think that's the problem as well, the lack of information.
That picture that men paint about what a vasectomy is and the cut, I will do it for you, and the cutting, but it's no longer that. It's as easy as a slit and as easy as taking care. Okay, that's just face again. That should take us out.
They need to read up more on that. That's all I have to say. Well, thank you so much, guys, for staying with us until the end. We shall be back tomorrow. Bye for now.